Good morning again, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here for our next to last webinar in this series. We are so excited that you decided to be with us again this morning. We want to remind you that for those of you who attended all 5 virtual webinars, you will be invited to our in-person session so that you can network with all of our amazing presenters, get some one-on-one time, have conversations, all that good stuff. So you will receive that invitation if and only if you have participated in all 5 of our virtual webinars. My co-host Susie Molina could not be here with us this morning. She is otherwise engaged, but she left us in good hands. So we have some amazing presenters with us this morning. I am really excited about Ms. ShaRhonda Hill. She is a business advisor for True Fund, and she is one of our corporate partners for the Houston MBDA. So this is a relationship that spans far beyond just this one webinar. And so we're always excited when our corporate partners or any partners can join us. And so I will now turn it over to Miss ShaRhonda Hill, again, who serves as a business advisor for True Fund here in the Texas region. Ms. Hill.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Again, I am ShaRhonda Hill with True Fund Financial Services. I'm a business advisor, so if you have any questions, save your questions for the Q&A session part of the webinar. So let's get started. Next slide, please. So who is True Fund, you may ask, because you may not have heard of True Fund. Well, True Fund is a community development financial institution. We are a nonprofit. We were established in 2005 with headquarters in New York and field offices in Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, and Georgia. We've lent over $16 million in 2022. And as of November 3rd of 2023, we have lent about $26 million to over 100 small businesses throughout our footprint. 45% of our 2022 borrowers had poor to fair credit, and most were minority and women-owned business enterprises. Next slide, please. So the objectives of this session: how to prepare for loan approval, overview of the lending process, types of loans that True Fund offers, and tips. Next slide, please. So before we get started to telling you the types of loans we have, this is a brief list of what you'll need to prepare to get ready to access capital. Minimum of 2 years business and personal tax returns, year-to-date profit and loss statement, your articles of incorporation, or if you are an LLC, your corporate documents, and you have to be an active participant with the Secretary of State. We will also need a debt schedule and a personal debt schedule and a business debt schedule, your personal financial statement, and each owner with more than 20% stake in the company must provide tax returns. Other documents may be required depending on the type of loan that you are applying for. Next slide, please. So here at True Fund, we have several different loan products. Our first product is the real estate acquisition program. So that is a commercial real estate loan where you're able to get a commercial building at 95% LTV. Minimum FICO score is between 625 to 650. It just depends on each individual. Of course, we have our small business loan products, and our star product is our contractor financing loan fund. So that is one of our major lending products, especially here in the Houston market, because we have such a huge amount of small businesses and MBEs and women-owned businesses that are in the contracting space. Next slide, please. So the True Fund difference. So you might say, well, ShaRhonda, why can't we just go to a bank and get a loan? Well, that's a very good question. A lot of times small businesses are not what we want to call bankable. and you may not qualify for a bank because let's say for the if you're interested in commercial real estate, a bank is going to want to see a 700 credit score, and they're only going to lend between 65 to 75% LTV. Well, here at True Fund, when we have a lower requirement for credit score, we will lend between 50,000 and $1 million. There's no prepayment penalties, and we offer pre, during, and post technical assistance support. Next slide, please. So when you make your loan request, here are the things that we would like for you to be prepared with when you make your loan request. Please know the amount that you are looking to get, as well as the purpose. So before you get ready to apply for a loan, you need to know how much you want and what you want to do with it. Let's say, for instance, you need working capital. You may need working capital. You may need to purchase some equipment to get started on your project. You need to know what type of loan you're looking for. Now, True Fund doesn't offer lines of credit, but if you were going to a bank or a credit union, they may offer you a line of credit or a small business loan. You need to understand your repayment terms, maturity, amortization, things of that nature. Sometimes if you apply for a business loan, they'll say, oh, well, we'll give you $350,000, but we'll amortize it over 25 years, but your loan term may actually only be 5 years. What does that mean, ShaRhonda? Well, that means that you'll have lower monthly payment amounts, but for a shorter term. So you will have an opportunity to either refinance that loan or get a loan with a different entity. So that's all that means. You need to know your conditions and covenants. And sometimes if your credit and your revenues are not in line with our lending guidelines, we will work with you. So let's say you have collateral. Let's say you've been in business for many years and you have some equipment. Well, you can use your equipment as collateral to get a loan. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide. All right, common issues and challenges. So some borrowers don't have the financial statements and the corporate documents readily available. When that happens, we are able to assist you to get your financial documents in place. Your profit and loss statement, your balance sheet, your cash flow documents, things of that nature. Poor credit management or commingling of business and personal funds. That is a huge no-no, okay, in the business world. Please do not commingle your funds. Now, as far as poor credit goes, we will go down to a 600. And one other, let's say, perk that we have here at True Fund, we will place you with our Trust Plus partners. They are willing and ready to assist those of you that have poor credit. We always want to make sure that the amount awarded for the contract is going to be profitable, okay? Because a lot of times, if it's your first contract and you don't really understand what you're doing, that's why it's important to have, an advisor to help you to understand and navigate those waters. Long delays from the time the contract is awarded versus the actual start date. That could pose a problem for some of our contractors as well. A lot of times we'll see that a contractor may be awarded for a contract, but they don't have the funds to get started. So with our contractor mobilization loan product, we will be able to assist you to get mobilized on your contract. Next slide, please. Okay, so here are some of the services that True Fund offers. Training and educational webinars, credit assistance at no cost to the participants, pre-loan one-to-one business advising on project planning and budgeting, credit repair, sales forecasting, cash flow projections, post-loan advising, goal setting, implementation, growth and scalability, resiliency, and we will also help you prepare for future access to capital. Whether you are approved or declined with True Fund, We don't just, say, oh, you're declined, and we, say, sorry, too bad. No, we will help you to get your finances together, get everything in order, and we'll refer you to a resource or a service provider as appropriate, as needed, so that you can, be ready for your access to capital. Next slide, please. So how to apply. You can scan the QR code, or you can reach me at shill@truefund.org, or give me a call, and I'll be happy to assist you to navigate your financial needs and accessing capital for your small business.
Thank
Any
you so
questions?
much, Ms. ShaRhonda. We'll take the questions at the end. Thank you so much. As you all can see, TrueFund has a plethora of information and programs that can truly assist you, whether you're starting a business or already in business. They are indeed a partner to have. And so you certainly want to connect with them. Please type your questions for ShaRhonda rather, into our chat, and we will certainly get to those. But now I want to bring up Ms. Sabrina Franklin, who is the CEO and principal agent of Franklin Insurance Solutions. So, Ms. Franklin, take it away.
Hello. Well, thank you so much for having me here. I'm thrilled to be a part of this conversation on finance and construction. So today what we're going to talk about is insurance and bonding. Next slide. So my presentation is going to be short, but very informative. So the most common insurance that contractors or even small business owners acquire is general liability insurance. So when you think about liability, look at the first letter, L. Think of law or lawsuit, because this is where the power of general liability insurance lies. It helps to pay or to protect your business from any type of claim that may come against your business that can cause financial loss. If general liability helps to pay for medical payments, if someone other than your employee or yourself is hurt due to your business operations. It also pays for property to be replaced or repaired that your business may damage. But remember, it's for someone else's property, not yours or your employees. And it also pays for legal fees or judgments they may come against you due to this. So you may say, well, if general liability insurance pays for medical damages and property damages, what else why would someone want to sue? Well, if they have a medical claim against you, there may be a possibility that they are out of work and they want to recoup that money. Or if you damage their property, there's a possibility that they cannot do their job. If it's another contractor who is not with your company and you damage their property, they need to recoup that money. Okay, and so legal fees and judgments paid out to the damaged party is the superpower of general liability insurance. So you may ask, do you need general liability insurance? So I like to say that there are three things that we cannot control. You cannot control people, time, nor life's risk. So because we have all these unknowns, we need to rely on insurance, specifically general liability, when you're a contractor, to take the heavy lifting of the unknown. Another thing is I get asked about how much general liability should you have. So yesterday I attended a workshop on common mistakes when bidding for contracts with HISD, and they specifically said that those who win a bid, the contract must have at least $1 million in general liability insurance. So $1 million is pretty much the standard of what is expected for a contractor or even a small business owner to carry as far as general liability insurance goes. Next slide, please. So let's talk about bonding. So with you being in the construction industry, you're definitely going to need to access bond, some type of bond at some point in time, especially if you are a prime, but if you are a subcontractor. So what is a bond? A bond is when a surety company, so the surety company is the company that finances finances the any damages that needs to be paid to the party that was expecting work to be done, but was not done, was not completed, or not completed to the standards by the person who was to do the work. So here we have these words obligee and obligor, or principal. So the surety company is the company that the obligee is the person who is requiring the work to be done. So that could be MD Anderson Hospital. That could be the prime contractors who want subcontractors to have a surety bond in place. The principal, I like to say the principal because no one goes around saying the obligor, okay, is the person who has to do the work. So if you're the subcontractor and the prime says, listen, I want to make sure that you have a bond in place so that if you cannot complete the work, the surety company will make us whole again in the way of either purchasing more material, if you've damaged materials, or in the way of hiring a new contractor. So that they will get their money back, make them whole so that they can continue the project. So once the obligee is made whole, that does not mean that you get to skip on off into the sunset. No, that means that now you have a commitment to the surety company to pay the surety company back any funds that they had to pay to the obligee. And so now we're going to specifically talk about payment bonds. So a payment bond, so there are different types of bonds, but a payment bond is the safety net to ensure that everyone gets paid. That means that you have a bond in place, a payment bond, that says that you are going to pay the suppliers, the contractors, everyone involved in the project. Now, what if you do not? Then the surety company will again take that load on, that financial load, to make sure that everyone is paid, and then you, the principal, will then have to repay the surety company. So in Texas, there are certain bonds that you need. Different cities may have specific bonds, but in the construction arena, payment bonds are very are needed. So next slide, please. So I know this was short and sweet. It is an introduction because it really is very specific to what you need and what the scope of your project is, on what how much your bond will be, or how much you'll have to have in as far as a bonding to bond the contract. So if you want to talk further, here's my contact information, and I'm pretty sure there's some questions in the chat, and I'd love to answer them.
Thank you so much, Ms. Franklin. We do appreciate you as well. This is, again, a lot of information that you all should really take heed to. I know it's a lot, and I know it's going at rapid pace, but that's why we have our Q&A at the end of these webinars so that you can ask your questions and get very detailed answers to such questions. That's also the reason why we're hosting an in-person session so that you can ask any other questions that you may have. So I am now going to turn it over to one of my team members, Ms. Deidra Sutton, so that she can go to the chat and see if there are any questions there.
Okay. Feel free to type in more questions as I go through what we have. Does True Fund also have SBA backed loans? And if so, what should the customer know? How to participate or whatever?
You offer those types of loans. Thank you for asking. The as far as the SBA backed loans, the interest rates for those may be a little bit higher. So that's one of the things that, is you have to explain to our clients. You may have a little bit higher of interest rate if you choose to go with the SBA backed loan. But yes, we do offer those.
Thank you. And they apply just like they would apply for the regular loans you have? Just go
Yes, ma'am.
online? Okay,
Yes, ma'am. So every business is different. And so when
okay,
we have a client that comes in and applies for a loan with True Fund, through our business advisory services, we ask the right questions to see what the client actually needs and what the needs are and which loan product will fit their needs better. So sometimes it's not the SBA product. So it
Okay.
depends on each client.
okay. Thank you. Okay, what type of insurance is available for small business owners?
Okay, that's a great question. So, as I said, general liability is one of the most common types of small business insurance. Also, professional insurance, errors and omissions insurance. Again, it is insurance to back if you were to have a claim against you due to negligence, not because you damaged anyone's property or you harmed someone physically, but maybe you damaged them financially. You gave bad advice. That would be some things, or you injured them in another way. It just, think about all the ways that someone may think about suing you or suing anyone. There's an insurance for it. Now, also in construction, general liability is one thing, but I do also want to say with general liability, it protects you at your principal place of business, and it also protects you when you are performing business operations outside of your business location. So that's why it's very important. And as contractors, you're mainly outside of your general principal place of business or legal address or whatever. So you definitely want to consider whatever risk that you think that your business can have, and that's a conversation that we will talk about. There's a insurance for it. I'm not sure if there was any other type of insurance you'd be looking for, but also I said the general liability covers if you damage someone else's property. But what about your own equipment? Okay, insurance is here to protect you from financial loss. If your equipment is damaged, or if you own it, or if you're leasing it, what can you fall back on to replace that equipment if you don't have the cash readily on hand? Well, then you would need a equipment protection insurance. So these are also different things. So these are different topics that we would discuss.
Oh, great. Thank you. Okay, what is the typical bond rate for new bond customers? It's probably performance and payment bonds, I would think.
Okay,
Typically applied here.
the bond rate is normally 1 to 3% of the bond amount. Okay, so just think about 1 to 3% of whatever the bond amount that is required of you. And I don't want you to be afraid of that number if you feel like, okay, it might be more than what you need, because more than what you can afford. There are some options. Some bonds can be paid. You can do what's called a premium loan, a premium payment loan to help you pay for those bonds or even for your insurance. So everyone is here to make sure that you win, and there are also financial products in here to make sure that you win.
Okay, so it's 1 to 3%, and that should be factored into your bid, right? Because that's a cost you pay up front.
Well, it will be paid up front, yes. So however you want to factor that in.
Okay, yes.
I'm not gonna say that part.
Don't forget you gotta pay it, because
You definitely have to pay it.
it's gonna come out the profit if you do.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, my question for True Fund are there costs involved for business advisory service with the exception of credit assistance?
No, we do not charge our clients for business advisory services. And as far as the credit services go, we do have a partner, and the credit services is at no cost as well.
Thank you. Okay. Also, ShaRhonda, what does LTV mean? Can you share the information needed to get a bond? Oh, okay. I'll just ask one at a time. She wrote them together, but what does LTV mean?
LTV
Loan.
means loan to value. So let's say, for instance, you wanted to purchase a house or a commercial building. Loan to value is, let's say if it's 95% LTV, that means you'd only have to put down a 5% down payment. And we would lend the 95%.
Okay. And this was for Sabrina. I'm sorry. Can you share the information needed to get a bond? What type of paperwork is needed from the principal obligee? I guess a checklist or something.
Okay.
It's in my mind. Mhm.
So it would be the name of the bond, the requester, who's the obligee, who's requesting the bond, and the amount of the bond. Now, if there's a credit, because this is a credit-based product. Now, some product bonds that's like less than $25,000, very lenient. I can easily get a quote within 5 minutes or so. But anything above that could be, it's not all the time, could be you may need to do a credit check. And with that being said, whatever just your social things like that, just to make sure that they can do the credit check.
Okay, so I'm thinking they won't need like tax returns or financial statements.
So all things, when it goes to underwriting, the basic information that to gather would be the name of the bond, who's the obligee. If you have the bond request letter, you can submit that as well. Any information, any pertinent information. Then it goes to underwriting. And then underwriting it'd be a case by case basis on what they
Okay.
would need.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Do you have to be an established business in order to receive assistance from True Fund, or can you be a startup?
So for our business advisory services, yes, you can participate in our webinars, our educational information, and you can receive one-to-one technical assistance as a startup. But True Fund doesn't lend to startups. So the way that works, we will never turn anyone away. If you are a startup and you're interested in starting a business, you can participate in our business advisory services and our one-to-one TA. And once we get you ready for lending to actually start your company and you do need a loan, we have many referral partners. So we work with other CDFIs and other entities that are available to do loans to startups. And so once we help you with everything, we help you to get your package together, and then we refer you to one of our partners.
Okay. For anybody interested, the presentation will be available later today to all participants. Let's see. Okay, other than not being bank ready, what's another reason businesses would go to True Fund versus a traditional bank?
Great question. Mainly because of our technical assistance, our one-to-one technical assistance, and our business advisory services. If a client needs that in their business, if they don't understand their financials, if they don't understand how to create a profit and loss statement, cash flow worksheet, balance sheet, things of that nature. We assist them with creating those and understanding those. So those are the differences between true fund and a bank. Another issue is, another difference is more than likely true funds rates, interest rates are going to be lower than bank interest rates as well.
That's the best reason. Okay. This question is for Franklin Insurance Solution. Which step in the business startup process should we reach out for business insurance?
I would say even in the very beginning, because you want to know what your expenses are. So I'm the type of agent, getting a quote is important to you. At that time, you might not be ready for it, but to know what your projected cost will be is beneficial. We could just do some estimations, some standard, what's standard in your industry. But always, and I want to also say this. I attended a seminar, another seminar yesterday. I love learning. Okay, and someone said, remember the acronym BABY. You should always have a personal relationship with a banker. B, banker. You need to have an accountant on your team. So A, accountant. And then you also need to have a broker or insurance person on your team. Also for the A, you also need an attorney. So at the beginning, you can have that conversation. You start the conversation because you don't want to have to be, it's better to be proactive than reactive in having to go back and undo some things.
Okay. And the second part of that question, in regards to bonding, should we have this in place prior to bidding on work? A line of work consists of professional services and construction.
So the actual the bid, the paperwork for the bid should tell you what you need. I would say have a conversation and let's talk about it, but you don't have to have it in place until it's needed. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I guess it would be good to provide that part of the solicitation to you so that you know how to respond based
Right.
upon what the solicitation's looking for.
Correct.
Yeah. It's and after you do it a couple of times, the light bulb will go off
Right.
because it's just different. Okay, waiting on some more questions here.
There's another one in there, Deidra. Do you know
Okay.
what types of bonds are required on a federal construction project?
Okay, just saw it.
Well, it really depends on what they're asking for. I basically get the information from you, and then I send that to the underwritings. So as far as Texas goes, there's no specific bonds that you need unless it's for the city. And then what I do is I look that up for you, depending on what you're trying to do, or if it's for a specific industry, I look that up as well. I have a directory of the types of bonds, but as far as federal, I don't have a portfolio of those.
Okay, if I could just interject a little bit, because I usually work with construction people. Performance and payment bonds are the typical ones, but what really interests me is the bid bonds. The bid bonds are tricky. Some bond companies will charge you like a minimal fee just because of the paperwork that's involved, and some of them won't. They don't charge you until you get the bond. Do you know what type of service you provide for bid bonds?
So yes, I do have a pre-certification process. So you can get a certification on the bond that you're requesting, and that is at no cost.
Okay. That helps a lot.
And I'm sorry, I was just, you
Uh-huh.
know.
Oh, no.
I thought they were asking for a specific name. I'm like, no, I can't.
Yeah,
I
and
don't know.
I know, and I read the question and I think of something different. So it's just good to bounce it all around because you
Yeah.
don't have access to their voice, you know.
ShaRhonda, let me ask you a question. Can you tell us more about the SBA Community Advantage Program?
Well, the SBA Community Advantage Loan, it's basically the only difference between the Community Advantage Loan and a regular loan is that if you default on the loan, if a borrower defaults on the loan, then the SBA will guarantee the loan and pay it off. Will pay a portion of it off.
Okay, that sounds great. Okay, this question is, what is the max amount for an existing business working capital loan?
So if you just, it depends. So if you are looking for a working capital loan for contracts, and you want to use your contract as collateral, it would depend on the contract amount. But if you just want to get a regular, just a small business loan, a true fund small business loan, those loans go up to $750,000.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other questions? Please type them in.
Oh, and that's something I forgot to mention, everyone.
Okay.
So if you do have a contract, right? Let's say you bid on a contract and you win a $100,000 contract. And let's say you don't have the funds, you need the funds to get started to mobilize the contract to start working on it. So and you can use your contract as collateral. True Fund will loan you up to 30% of the value of your contract to get you started on that project.
Okay.
And ShaRhonda, I know when the pandemic started, you all had a program for COVID-19. Is that still in effect or no?
Well,
I think it was the disaster relief.
right. So all of our products are, because we are CDFI and a nonprofit, our products are tailored towards those that are marginalized or in disadvantaged situations and communities.
Which is phenomenal. So yeah, okay. All right, well, I don't see any more questions in the chat, but please know that again, for those of you who will be attending our in-person session on December 7th, you can certainly meet with Ms. ShaRhonda Hill and Ms. Sabrina Franklin. They will both be there. So again, if you have registered and attended all 5 of the webinars virtually, you will be invited to our in-person session on December 7th. So of course, more information on that will be in your inbox shortly. And we thank you all so much. Again, we do realize that you could have spent this time someplace else, but we're delighted that you chose to spend it with us. So thank you again. We do appreciate you and your time. And that's it. So we will see most of you on December 7th.